You know, if you grew up in a family where there's criticism was the norm, then you're going to grow up to be a critical person. You're going to look at everything in life as with criticism. And you probably criticize yourself and other people, and you won't enjoy life nearly as much as you could. If you grew up in a family where you were not allowed to express anger, then either you're a person who is terrified of anger, or you swallow it down all the time and you let it sit in your body. If you were raised in a family where everybody was manipulated by guilt, then you're probably going to do the same thing. You're probably a person who runs around saying, I'm sorry all the time. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And you can never ask for anything outright because you always want to manipulate somebody. But these are old family patterns, and it's very easy to blame our parents, and it's very easy to blame our childhood or our environment. But the problem with that is that it keeps us stuck. We don't get to be free. We get to stay in our victim thing, and that's no good for anybody. Then we just get to keep having our problems. But remember, you're in charge now. Doesn't matter what your parents said, doesn't matter what anybody else did. How wonderful. Great group. I feel good energy. Yes. So let's ask once more. How many people here have barriers? Okay. Yes. All right. I think almost all of us do. You know, we do so much work on ourselves, and still somehow barriers keep coming up. And I find that many of them fall into about 4 different categories. They're either criticism, they're resentment, they're fear, or they're guilt. Those are the 4 ones we work on mostly, the ones that really are in the way. Yes, let's take a nice deep breath. And if you brought any stuff in with you, just let's let it go for the time being. I've been sort of my eyes going in many places, seeing what's happening. I'm letting all that go now so that I can just be here and concentrate on being with you. And if you think for a moment about your own patterns and your own problems, and the things that hold you back, which categories do they fall into for yourself? Maybe they fall into 2 or 3. Is it fear that always comes up? Is it guilt that always comes up? Is it resentment? Are you very, very critical? What is the thing that is your barrier? Now remember, our experiences always reflect our inner beliefs. And if you want to know what your inner beliefs are, you can literally look around at your experiences. Now, I know that you've heard me say many times, or you've read or listened on the tapes, that loving yourself is the most powerful thing we can do. Then everything flows. Everything flows beautifully. And I'm not talking about vanity or arrogance, because that is not love. That's always fear. I'm talking about just really respecting and appreciating this incredible, magnificent being that we are. You know, little babies know how to love themselves. You were born in pure love, all of you. There's not one little baby alive that I know of that ever criticizes its body or ever says, my hips are too big. Have you ever heard a baby say that? They're just thrilled and delighted that they have a body. And they rejoice in it. And they love themselves. They love their toes. They love everything about themselves. They absolutely adore, they express their feelings. You know, when a baby is happy, you know it. When a baby is angry, the whole neighborhood knows it. They're never scared to let people know how they feel. They live in the moment, and they're filled with courage. And they're wonderful. And we were all like that. Got to remember that you were filled with courage and you were full of love and you adored yourself when you were very little. And then what happens is we start to grow up and we start to listen to people that were frightened or critical or resentful or guilty. And many of us grew up with people like that. You know, if you grew up in a family where there was criticism was the norm, then you're going to grow up to be a critical person. You're going to look at everything in life as with criticism. And you probably criticize yourself and other people. And you won't enjoy life nearly as much as you could. If you grew up in a family where you were not allowed to express anger, then either you're a person who is terrified of anger, or you swallow it down all the time and you let it sit in your body. If you were raised in a family where everybody was manipulated by guilt, then you're probably going to do the same thing. You're probably a person who runs around saying, I'm sorry all the time. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And you can never ask for anything outright because you always want to manipulate somebody. But these are old family patterns. And it's very easy to blame our parents, and it's very easy to blame our childhood or our environment. But the problem with that is that it keeps us stuck. We don't get to be free. We get to stay in our victim thing. And that's no good for anybody. Then we just get to keep having our problems. But remember, you're in charge now. Doesn't matter what your parents said. Doesn't matter what anybody else did. Doesn't matter what you learned. What really matters is what you are choosing to think and say now. Because you're the only person that thinks in your mind. So you are always in charge, and you're creating your world and your life. Now, I've known that one of the most powerful affirmations you can use is, I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself. And when you first say that, it's amazing what can come up and come to the surface. Lots of times when we begin to say that, all the negative messages come to the surface. And it's marvelous because that gives us an opportunity to know what's been in the way. And when you find a negative message, if you could write it down, it's wonderful because you want to think, I found a treasure. This is something that's really in my way and really creating a problem. Remember, we get to choose the way we think, and we can choose to change the way we think. It's always our choice. Now, what I'd like you to do right now is take out those little mirrors that you have. I know everybody has a little mirror. Now, let's see if you can look in your eyes without primping. See if you can manage to do that. I want you to look in your eyes, and I want you to say, I love you. I love and approve of you exactly as you are. Okay, now just begin to notice what you're feeling. Don't judge it, just notice. What are the feelings that are coming up? Acknowledge the negative message. Just acknowledge it, and you can always say, thank you for sharing. And realize that the negative messages that are coming up now are very much the things that are in the way of you loving yourself. Okay, what I want to do right now is let's do just a little bit of sharing. Okay, I want to know what sort of messages are coming up from you. Yes.
Fear.
Who would be upset if you really loved yourself?
Me.
No. It always goes back farther.
Okay.
Who would be upset if you really loved yourself?
My parents.
Your parents. Which one? Both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Both of them.
Mostly my
What was
mother
the
and father.
family message?
Always judgmental, always... and
Okay, so you
never
came
good
from a
enough.
critical, judgmental, resentful family.
Right.
Okay, fine. So you're a
And
wonderful...
fearful.
And fearful. Oh boy, you really got it all. Okay, it just means that you have a little more to work on. But see, it's my belief that the main thing that we really come here to work on is loving ourselves, in spite of what they say and in spite of what they do. And that's what we really need to do. So, okay, you've got things, you've got judgment, you've got criticism, you've got fear, probably a little guilt in there too. Who else wants to share something from the mirror? Yes, over here.
I didn't really think of anything when I looked in, but when you asked just to sit back, I felt that it wasn't real.
It wasn't real.
That
Okay.
this whole exercise, I mean, I was looking at myself in the mirror, but I thought, this isn't real. It's not. It's just a pretend exercise. I just felt
Yes.
like it wasn't real.
Okay, yes. Is it the first time you've ever done that? Look in the mirror and say, I love you.
Yes.
Okay. You know, a lot of people, when they first do it, you start getting the barriers and the resistance up. And that's okay. Because remember, resistance is the first step to change. Couple. How many people got angry? How many people got sad? Ah, yeah, lots of sad. You know what happens? When you look in the mirror and you say, I love you, for the first time, that little child inside says, where have you been all this time? I've been waiting. And these waves of sadness come up. Because remember, you've probably been rejecting that little child for a long, long time. Okay, let's have somebody else.
Immediately I felt like, how could I love someone this fat and this ugly and be so awful, and that I did it. I do everything
What's so
wrong.
awful about you?
That I'm fat and ugly.
Besides, you said fat and ugly and awful.
Yeah. Because I do I guess because so much of my past, I did so much so wrong, where
Well, it sounds to me like ever since you were a little girl, you've been trying to survive in the best way that you could and trying to protect yourself. Excess weight usually has something to do with protection. And it's a time when we're not feeling as safe as we could be. And so we put on some protection to take care of ourselves. But if we make ourselves bad for that, then we stay stuck and we never get to feel safe. So see, now, it isn't the weight is really an outer effect. You look in the mirror and it immediately brings up what is really there. That's why I love the mirrors. And it's either going to be, I tell you, fear or criticism or resentment or guilt. And you have a good, strong fear thing. Okay. Take a deep breath and just be real proud of yourself for having all the courage that you have. And of course, the thing we really need to work on is forgiveness. And that's the one that's really, it's hard for everybody, but some of us have made it harder than other times. It's very helpful when we've gone through difficult childhood experiences to learn as much as we can about that person's childhood. Because remember, no matter how badly that person behaved at that time, they were born a little baby in pure love. So what happened to them along the way?
I really had no problem with the saying I love you. I don't know why, but when it got to approve of myself just as you are,
Yes.
It was history. I couldn't even say it out loud.
Okay. So you have lots of things that you don't accept about yourself at the moment.
Apparently so.
Okay. All right. Well, this goes straight into the criticism thing. You see, when you're dealing with criticism and you criticize yourself, all you do is stay stuck. It keeps you in the place. If you think about it, the things you're criticizing yourself for now are the same things that you criticized yourself for years, right? Same stuff. Well, when were we going to learn that it doesn't work? It doesn't work to criticize ourselves if we're going to change. That doesn't work at all. So let's try another tactic. Let's approve of ourselves as we are right here and right now, so that we can then bring out the best in ourselves. The things that you probably don't like about yourself right now are patterns that you've created to deal with something. But if you come from a space of loving and approving of yourself, then you're going to find more positive ways to fulfill those needs. When you love who you are, you automatically bring out the best in yourself. And I guarantee, if you will be willing to begin to love and approve of yourself as you are, a lot of negative stuff is just going to disappear from you because you won't need it anymore. But see, if we're critical to ourselves, then we have to have things to criticize so we can keep the critical pattern going. Yes, there was a gentleman right here, and we'll do this, and then...
I discovered that I was feeling vulnerable, that there was a feeling of being fragile about loving myself. Mm-hmm. And I think it had something to do with I'm so used to feeling not loving myself.
Yes, it would. It would be a very fragile thing. You know what it's like when you pick up a newborn baby, and especially if you've never done it before, you look at this thing and you think, oh, I'm going to drop it. It's so fragile. You don't know what to do, and you want to sort of put it in your arms, and you don't know how to do it because how do you hold the head? And it's the same thing. It's like you have a new baby, And think of it that way. And just, it's a wonderful thing to nurture. And you know how it is when you fall in love with somebody and how wonderful it is and your heart feels so good. Well, when you get that going with yourself, it's the most incredible thing, because other people can leave you, but you don't leave yourself. So many people fight loving themselves, and it's the one thing that's so incredible. So that's what we need to work on. And what we're looking at today really is the barriers that are in the way. But remember, they're only thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. Now, resentment. Let's talk about resentment a little bit. It's a biggie for many of us. Resentment is when, anger is fine. I mean, anger is a normal, natural emotion. Babies have it all the time, and you know it when they're angry. But 5 minutes later, they can be totally out of it, and their smile can light up a room because they're in the now. They do it, they express it, they get it over with. Too many of us were raised in families where we weren't allowed to be angry. Anger was not acceptable, except maybe in one person. And so we swallow it down, and swallowed anger becomes resentment. Again, we have to realize that we are the ones that are holding on to it. Nobody else is involved at all. It's something about running the old movie in our mind over and over and over again. And if we want to be free from it, if we want to get out of it, then what we need to do is to go beyond it. But remember, again, resentment is only a thought, and a thought can be changed. So many people ask me about how to love yourself. How do you love yourself, Louise? Because I talk about it all the time. So I made a list of how to love yourself. And it's even in poster and postcard form now. But number one on that list of how to love yourself is to stop all criticism. Just stop it, now and forevermore. And make a vow to yourself that you're going to do your very best from now on to stop criticizing, number one, you, and then other people. It'll be a lot easier to stop criticizing other people when you stop criticizing yourself. Now, number two on that list is stop scaring yourself. And here we go into fear. How often do you terrorize yourself with your own thoughts? You get into absolute terror, and it's only coming from your thoughts. Nobody out there is doing a thing. Sometimes it's an old family pattern. Sometimes we get new things. I would like people, when you have time, to make a list of your fears. Make a list of your fears. And then give yourself the opportunity to turn each fear into a positive affirmation. Turn each one into something positive. And remember, always you are in charge. You are always in charge. See, one idle thought doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It's like but thoughts are like drops of water. You drop a drop of water on the table here, and it doesn't mean much. But if you keep dropping and keep dropping and keep dropping, you get, the table becomes a wash, and then you get a puddle on the floor, and then you can get a little pond and a lake, and finally you can create an ocean. And with our own thoughts, we can drown in a sea of negativity, or we can float on the ocean of life. And it's up to us. The thoughts we think accumulate. So you want to turn those fear thoughts into positive affirmations. Let them work for you. Yes.
All right, now I've
little
changed.
Closer. Thank you.
Okay, then I said, okay, I've changed my thought. And then when I'm unaware, the old thought comes back again.
Okay, all right. And then
And
you
I
say
think,
you're...
well, I haven't learned anything.
Oh, well, that's one way to get yourself stuck.
Yeah, I know.
You hear what a strong affirmation that is? I haven't learned
I
anything.
know.
You
But
see,
I even forget that that's an affirmation.
we talk about doing affirmations, and that we think of, okay, we'll do affirmations, but what we forget is that every single thought we think and every word we speak is an affirmation. And far too many of them are very negative. Now, it's a normal and natural process that you go a little forward, you come a little back. You go a little forward, you come a little back. It's part of practicing. I don't think there is any new skill that you are going to learn absolutely 100% in 20 minutes. Now, we're all in a practice period. We're learning what to do. And one of the things we want to learn to do is to stop beating ourselves up. So we learn something, and then we do the old way again. And it's like we test ourselves. How are you going to treat yourself? Are you going to say, oh, I didn't learn anything? Or are you going to say, okay, that's all right. Come on, let's do it the new way.
How do you know when you've forgiven yourself, and how do you know when you've forgiven
Because your life works. You see, when you really love yourself 100%, every single thing in your life is working. And if things are not working in some area of your life, whatever it is, then that's an area where you're not loving yourself as much as you could. You see, you can turn these old negative thoughts into positive affirmations, like I'm never good enough, or I'll never be good enough, can be turned into I'm wonderful just as I am. Now, it may sound not true to begin with, but remember, if it were true, you wouldn't need to do an affirmation. An affirmation is planting a new seed in the ground. And a seed that's planted in the ground takes a little bit of time. You don't plant a seed in the ground and get instant lily. You get a seed in the ground, and the seed has to germinate, take root, and only after that does that first little shoot come up. And then you have to nurture it. So it takes a little while to continue and to do them. But how much time it is, it depends on how much time you're going to give it. Now, a lot of people want to do affirmations, and they will do affirmations maybe even 10 minutes in the morning, which is sort of a lot. You sit down and do your affirmations for 10 minutes, or you write them so many times. What are you doing the rest of the day? You leap in your car and you say, that son of a... It's like you've blown the whole thing. Doing the affirmations helps, but as every thought is an affirmation all the time, what are we doing the rest of the time when we're not actually doing our affirmations? And that's the stuff we have to watch. You've got to watch your thoughts. Now, when you find yourself in a negative thing, ask yourself, just step back a little bit and say, ooh, now is this criticism? Is this resentment? Am I into fear? Is this guilt? Start to observe what you're doing instead of beating yourself up for doing it. And saying, okay, I don't have to do this. Now I can do this another way. You see, if you really believe that nobody ever loves you, you can turn that into, my life is filled with love and joy. Okay, let's talk about guilt a little bit. Guilt, the big one, that big, heavy one that we all carry. Guilt never solves anything. It never solves anything. If you've really done something that you don't approve of, that you think wasn't very good, don't do it anymore. Just stop it. Let it go. But don't walk around under a whole thing of guilt. And don't try to manipulate other people with guilt. You don't want to lay guilt on other people, because if you're doing that, remember, everything you give out comes back to you. So you want to change that. You want to give out only wonderful stuff. Remember, there are like 4 basic premises that I work with. What we give out, we get back. Whatever you give out, it doesn't matter. You're going to get it back. So if you give out a lot of negativity, a lot of anger, a lot of criticism, a lot of guilt, guess what you're going to have in your life? Experiences that fulfill anger and guilt and criticism and things like that. But if you give out love and joy and praise to other people, that's going to come back to you. So, we have these barriers, and what are the antidotes for them? The antidotes to me are really love and forgiveness and letting go of the past. And it sounds simple. It is simple. It's not always easy, but it's very simple. To love ourselves, to be willing to forgive, and to let go of the past. I like to think of the subconscious mind down here. This is your subconscious mind. This is where everything goes. And ever since you've been a little child, Every message that you've had, everything you've done, all the experiences that you've had, everything you've said has gone into these filing cabinets down here. And I like to think of lots of little messengers down there. And when you think a thought or you have an experience, the message goes down, they grab the message, they look at it, and they put it in the appropriate file. And for a long time, you have perhaps been building up files that say, I'm not good enough, I'll never make it, I don't do it right. I mean, you're getting absolutely buried under these files. And then all of a sudden, you do an affirmation that says, I'm wonderful and I love myself. And it goes down and they pick up this thing and they say, what is this? Where does it go? We've never seen this before. So what they do is they call doubt. Doubt, come over here and go up and see what's going on. So doubt picks up the message and comes up to you and says, hey, look at this. You've always been saying this, and here it is. And you can react one of two ways. You can go, oh, you're right. I'm terrible. I'm no good. I'm sorry. That's not the right message, and go back to your own old things. Or you can say to doubt, thank you for sharing. And this is. See, don't treat doubt as an enemy. Treat doubt as a messenger that's a friend. And thank doubt for coming up and looking at you and saying, now that was the old message, but this is the new message. Now go down and start a new file, and there's going to be lots of these coming through. And if you look at doubt that way and begin to treat doubt that way, then doubt becomes your friend. You see, we need to change our thinking, because changing our thinking changes our reality. So if we can change what we think, we're going to change our experiences. So let's know for ourselves now that life is a joy. Make these some personal laws for you. Life is a joy. Let yourself this be true for you. Let's know that we are safe. I am safe. I am safe. And I am loving and loved. I am loving and loved. Let's know for ourselves that it's easy to forgive. Let's know for ourselves that we have glowing health. I have wonderful glowing health. And that we prosper wherever we are. And that all is well in our world. All is well in our world.